The three.
Yeah.
Well, we have a quorum, so if Stone Cipher slips in late, I think that's okay. So, oh, there he is. He must have taken his leave.
All right. Good morning. It's time to call to order the May 29th, 2025 meeting of the Oklahoma City Airport Trust. And our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the April 24th, 2025 Oklahoma City Airport Trust. Is there a motion and second? And the item passes. Next up, we have the director's report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This month, we have another employee group that we wanted to highlight. So Carrie from our fueling group is here to take a few minutes and just talk about what they do. So welcome.
Good morning.
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 My name is Carrie Cox. I'm the Airport Aviation Fuel Manager. I've been with the city for 18 years and in fuels for 40 this year. I have 6 staff members that work for me, 1 field operations supervisor and 5 aviation fuel system technicians. Probably wondering what an aviation airport fuel manager does. We are responsible for 29 tanks and facilities owned by the Airport Trust at all 3 of the city airports. And all of the daily operations that go with that, everything from purchasing to ordering fuel to maintenance and everything in between. Our main priority, of course, is the aviation fuel dispensed at Will Rogers for the airlines, because that's the biggest area of our work. We receive all of the Jet A from a dedicated pipeline from Phillips 66. We do receive transports as well when the pipeline goes down for maintenance and so forth. And when we're in between batches of fuel at the refinery, like we currently are today, so we're getting lots of transports at the airport. The fuel is then dispensed to the fixed-base operators, which are tenants at the airport, that take it onto the aircraft and actually do the refilling of the aircraft. So once the fuel is actually issued into those trucks, our job is complete. The whole time that the fuel is in our possession, it's owned by Phillips 66. So we're a little different than other airports. I've actually been in the military business of fuels prior to this, but from what I understand, a lot of airports have consortiums, which is where all the airlines go together and they buy the fuel, and then it's maintained by whoever they choose. Or they own their own, like Southwest in Dallas. Southwest has a fuel facility, American has their own, and we're different that way. So the trust owns the fuel facility, and then we never own the product that flows through it. We just get paid coming and we get paid going, and that's how we generate revenue. We take a lot of pride in what we do because, you know, if a car stalls on the side of the street, it just pulls over to the side of the road. But if that aircraft goes down, fuel usually is the number one thing that they check. So we take a lot of pride in what we do. And my favorite saying is, pilots are pedestrians without us, so they don't fly. Any questions?
Oh, I like that.
I wanted to highlight something. She mentioned it, but probably didn't mention it enough. She often is involved in a ballet of coordination. She mentioned sometimes the pipeline from Phillips is under maintenance or has some issues, and then it's a mad dash to get fuel deliveries via truck to the airport. It then requires lots of coordination with the airlines to make sure there's enough fuel to put in the airplanes so the flight.
Yeah, I'm kind of at the mercy of Phillips because they're our supplier and that's who we're contracted with. And, you know, they have a contract to get it to us, whether that's by truck or by pipeline. The problem is there's so much demand in the city and it comes down from the refinery in what they call a multi-product pipeline. So there's unleaded diesel, jet, whatever the city needs. And as our city has grown, you know, they're refining more and more and more. But unfortunately, jet is like this much on the scale of what the magnitude of the unleaded and diesel needed for all these people that are moving to our great city. So, you know, we're kind of on the back burner sometimes when it comes to the jet. So it is a juggling act trying to make sure that we have batches coming or we have transports coming. And sometimes I don't get either and I get a little nervous, but you know, I always seem to pull it out in the end, so yay me.
That makes you guys unsung heroes.
That's
I
it, yeah, we
appreciate
just
that.
kind of fly under the radar.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation. That was some wonderful and valuable information
Thank you. I
provided
appreciate that.
to you and your team too for all the work that you do.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, you
Thank you.
too.
Gary.
Thanks.
I also would want to recognize John Storms. John has been out for the last couple months, and he's now back with us. And so great to see John back at the airport. So welcome back, John. Yeah, you bet. So at the end of the agenda, we do have the approval of our fiscal year 26 budget, but I did want to go over some slides now, and then we can take it up as we get to that point in the agenda, if that's okay.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Go ahead, Melissa. And also, we were in front of City Council on Tuesday and provided similar information for them also. So the highlights, you can see our budget goes down slightly to $208 million compared to $211 million for this fiscal year. A couple things going on. As I mentioned to you last month, we're expecting a revenue decrease this next fiscal year, primarily based on the forecast that we have from our airlines. And that amounts to about $8 million less revenue. So we are trimming our budget in some regards. On the capital side, the operating side still goes up slightly, but that's kind of the big picture of what we're looking at for this next fiscal year. You can also see historically that we've had an oversized capital share versus operating. Most airports, it's the other way around. Most of their budget is operating and less is capital. But when you combine our 3 airports and the Mike Maroney Aeronautical Center, it produces lots of projects. So, next slide. This kind of shows you the comparison of fiscal 25 to fiscal 26. And you can see our revenues there. We're expecting about $8 million less in revenues. And we do have some carryover that we're applying that will help balance our budget for this next fiscal year. And then on the expense side, you see we have a little bit of an increase on the expense side. Certainly we can certainly look to save wherever we can, but I mean, service contracts aren't going down in costs, and so just some things that we need to have that are going up in price. On the reserve side essentially is money that we would retain at the end of the year, and you can see that's going up about $6 million. We do have a pretty good cash balance essentially in our balance sheet. But we do have some big projects coming up, one of them being a parking garage probably next year. And we are going to try to cash fund that the best we can. So we're kind of taking money that we're projecting that will be remaining at the end of this fiscal year and putting it aside to spend on capital. Next slide. That shows you the revenues that we are projecting. Obviously, it's a fairly large variety of different revenues based on airline activity, tenant leases, fuel sales, a variety of other things. And so overall, the building rents and landing fees, those are going down. That's based on our airline activity that we're projecting. Everything else is probably pretty close to the same. And then the carryover The big number there is the project fund. So those are capital dollars that we have in this year's budget that we haven't spent, that we're rolling over into next year to finish the projects. Next slide. And here's the expense side. You can see that we've got other services and fees and commodities, debt, and then the transfer to city airport operations. So that's the piece, that's the city portion of our budget. Essentially pays for our salaries, pays for some of the services that we get from the city. And then the reserves, we're projecting by the end of the year, again, that we'll have some additional cash and that we will retain that for future capital funds. Next slide. Want to highlight a couple of the capital projects that will be part of this year's program. We're continuing with replacing our boarding bridges. Expect to spend about $9 million this year of about a $20 million project total. We've been at it the last couple years, and so we hope to replace some more this next fiscal year. Next slide. For those of you who haven't been on an airplane, that's what a boarding bridge looks like. So. Next slide. We're building a new hangar for one of our tenants, AAR. And that project started last year. And we expect in this fiscal 26 to spend about $13 million to finish the project up. We expect it'll be wrapped up right around the 1st of next year. And I think the next slide shows you a picture of, that was taken a couple weeks ago, so you can see we've got some great progress. Essentially the steel is up, now pouring the floor and putting siding on the building.
Wow.
Next slide. Another project that we are in design for at this point in time is a new air traffic control tower at Wiley Post. We would expect in fiscal 26 to hopefully begin construction and then complete it. Probably would be a good year of construction, so probably by the end of 26, early 27. And I think the next slide shows a schematic of what it would look like for a new tower. And the issue being the tower that we have there is old. It actually, at the elevation and the height, the controllers can't see all of the air runways and taxiways. There's some blind spots, so we need to address that and the obsolescence of the facility. Next slide. So that's for our fiscal 26, $135 million in capital. You can see how it's broken out between the various areas: Will Rogers, Wiley Post, Clarence Page, and Mike Maroney. And then I think next slide we've got, and that shows you some of our resources. So $55 million of OCAT funds, Mike Maroney funds that comes through the FAA. CFC is a rental car fee. AAR is the tenant, and they're paying for a portion of that hangar development. State of Oklahoma is 5.6, and federal grants 34.8. Next slide. And then we wanted to just give everyone a picture of long-term, and so we do develop a 5-year capital program, and you can see the proportions are pretty similar throughout the 5 years, majority going to OKC Will Rogers. Wiley Post certainly gets a pretty good share. Mike Maroney, a lot of development on the horizon there, and then Clarence Page, about $6 million there.
What's the Mike Maroney?
Oh, it's a variety of projects,
All
Bob.
sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's at any point in time, we've got about 20 projects going on there, so.
Oh, that's
It's
great.
just, it's from everything from, building projects to surface projects to, it runs the gamut from A to Z.
Okay, good.
Yep, everything. This is the portion I mentioned, consider the city portion of the budget, $27 million, essentially pays for our employee costs and the services that the city provides, and that's how we kind of proportion it out to the various components of the airport. Next slide. And that does it for our presentation.
Any questions? All right. Next up, we have Will Rogers International Airport.
Okay, item A is final acceptance of logistics support facility fire sprinkler replacement at Mike Maroney. Item B is partial substantial completion terminal restrooms with Globe Construction. Item C is partial substantial completion of passenger boarding bridges at gates 14 and 8 with Oshkosh Aerotech. Item D is compressed natural gas fueling station agreement with Clean Energy. Item E is ground services agreement with 9 Hotel LLC. F is ratify and approve addendums 1 and 2 awarding construction contract to Rudy Construction to rehabilitate AAR ramp, Phase 1, $5,764,012.50. Item G is Amendment 1, Operations and Maintenance Service Agreement with Concourse Communications to revise reporting dates. Item H, Amendment 1, Lease Agreement with U.S. Postal Service to exercise first of 3 successive 5-year renewal periods. Item I is Amendment 2, Professional Services with Frankfurt Short Bruza for FIS Services Build-Out, increase of $59,404. Item J, Amendment 4, Professional Services with MacArthur Associated Consultants, Rehab, Reconstruct Terminal Apron, increase of $98,140.36. Item K is Amendment 5, Construction Manager at Risk Services, J.E. Dunn, Construction Hangar 4, to Section A of Attachment 1 to Agreement to Reallocation of Allowances Funds for the trade packages. Item L, Supplement 6 with Protec Fire Services to exercise the final option period. Item M, Supplement 9 with ABM for Parking and Shuttle Services to amend the final option period to extend the date to April 30, 2026, and revise the annual budget to $1,855,817. Item N, Change Order 1 with Dewitt Construction, Reconstruct Terminal Area South Gates, decrease of $98,140.36 and increase of 109 calendar days. Item O is Change Order 1 with Globe Construction, Baggage Claim Unit Replacement, decrease of $33,437.41. Item P, Change Order 5 with W.L. McNatt and Company, Elevator Replacement for multiple buildings, Mike Maroney Aeronautical Center, increase of $35,771.94, and partial substantial completion, passenger elevator number 23. Q is approved plans and project manual for advertisement to reconstruct terminal area gate south phase 2. R, plans and project manual for bids for Hangar 3B foundation repair. Item S, resolution authorizing Director of Airports to sign a reimbursable memorandum of agreement with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Estimated initial cost $377,925.83. Estimated annual recurring cost of $45,875.67.
Okay. Have you heard the request for approval? Are there any questions? Is there a motion and second? And the item passes. Next up, we have Wiley Post Airport.
Item A is assumption agreement, PW Hangar, T-Hangar Unit 505 and 504 and 505. Item B is assumption agreement, conveyance for PW Hangar Unit 1503. Item C is assumption agreement and use guarantee for PW Hangar 1806. Item D, lease agreement with Jeffrey and Quinella Spingali to lease airport property for personal use. Item E, ratify and approve awarding the construction contract to Midwest Wrecking, Gulfstream Demolition Phase 1, $237,710. Item F, Amendment 1 to lease agreement with Putnam City School District to exercise first and second of 4 successive 1-year option periods. Item G, Amendment 3, construction contract TJ Campbell, drainage improvements, increased 29,027 calendar days. Item H, supplement agreement number 4, lease and operations agreement with U.S. Department of Transportation, FAA, to extend lease term and increase rent on the manufacturing and inspection district offices. Item I, plans, approved plans and project manual for advertisement for bids, terminal apron pavement rehabilitation.
Okay, you've heard the request for approval. Are there any questions? Is there a motion and second? And the item passes. Next up, we have Clarence Page Airport.
Mr. Chairman, that's a lease agreement with Dale Williams, the second Block 3, Lot 1.
Okay. You've heard the request for approval. Any questions? Motion and second. And the item passes. Thank you. Next up, we have General.
Did you want me to take that separately?
Yeah, I was going to
Yep. Oh.
announce to the chair that on item 7C, that probably needs to be voted on separately, and I need to recuse myself from that vote.
Yep, we can do that. I'll start with that one.
Okay.
So item
Excuse
7C.
myself.
Oh, yeah, sure. Item 7C is supplement number 2 to professional legal services agreement for legal services with Feller Snyder PC, retroactive to April 24, 2025.
Okay. And we want to have a motion and second
Yep.
for that.
Right.
Oh, here I am, live meeting. Ah. Sorry, I got lost. Yeah, you got it. Here we go. Sorry.
Okay. Item C passes.
Item A is agreement project consultant and design review services with the City of Oklahoma City for utilization of the City Engineer and Public Works Department. Item B is Amendment 1 with Frankfurt Short Bruza for facilities maintenance engineering services. Item D is ratify and approve resolution authorizing the extension of time to award contract for Southwest Plumbing and Backhoe, Inc. for annual utilities and repairs and maintenance. Item E is ratify and approve addendum 1, construction contract to Rudy Construction for the annual paving repairs and maintenance. Item F, resolution authorizing the awarding construction contract to Synergy Signs and Services for on-call wayfinding and signage. Item G, resolution authorizing Director of Airports or Director's designee in absence and an Assistant Director of Airports to approve the payment of certain expenses of the trust before trust approval, authorizing the corporate trustee bank to pay all monthly requisitions pursuant to the receipt of an approved resolution and monthly requisitions list, or those approved in advance by the Director of Airports or Director's designee or Assistant Director of Airports for certain expenses subject to subsequent trust ratification. Item H, resolution authorizing the purchase of janitorial supplies, Waxy's Enterprises.
Okay. You've heard a request for approval for the remaining items on general. Is there any questions? Is there a motion and a second? And the item passes. We have nothing for easements.
Correct.
And we'll move to the next item of requisitions. This is a resolution ratifying the prior approval of certain requisitional payments. Do I have a motion and a second? And the item passes. Next up, we have an item for consideration.
Mr. Chairman, it's the Oklahoma City Airport Trust budget for fiscal year 25 and 26.
Okay. Are there any questions? Is there a motion and a second to receive that budget? And the item passes. Thank you. Are there any comments from trustees?
The only thing I wanted to say was Jeff did his budget presentation at the city council, and it was He did a great job. It was quite helpful and quite meaningful. Thank you.
Sure.
Outstanding. Oh, okay. Are there any staff wishing to be heard? Do we have any citizens wishing to be heard?
Still a quorum.
Yeah. With that said, we adjourn.